All right, today I'm here with Ken Walton. And what branch of the military did you serve in?
In the Navy.
In the Navy?
Yep.
What years?
1981 to 2014.
Okay, so pretty much full career.
Pretty much very non-standard, though.
Yeah.
I had active duty, reserve, and then back on active duty.
Okay, wow.
So I went 1981 to 1987 active duty. Got out, got married, got back from the honeymoon, enlisted in the reserve, did 12 years there, earned my commission, and then in 2000 did a voluntary recall to active duty and just made it permanent. Stayed till 2014.
Wow.
So
that's interesting. Last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago, I took a guy out to lunch here, and he said he kind of did the same thing, but just went to the reserves, and he was like, I really wish I would have stayed inactive. So it's interesting that you found a way to get back in, and that's cool.
yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But people say that all the time, and you make the decision that's right for your life at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Obviously, yeah.
And those decisions define who you became.
Yeah. So, did you enlist like straight out of high school?
No, did a year in college.
Okay.
That was kind of a disaster. So then I went. So I turned 19 in boot camp.
Okay. That's not too bad.
No, it wasn't bad.
Got to live life. What'd you do while you were in the Navy?
A little bit of everything. I started out as a fire control technician. I worked on the Phalanx close-in weapons system. That's the one that looks like R2-D2.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a big white dome. It's got the Gatling gun.
Yeah.
Right?
That's cool.
And in reserve, I worked on Harpoon and Tomahawk missile systems.
Oh, wow.
And I commissioned as an ordnance officer, but I never did ordnance. I always did security and anti-terrorism.
Uh-huh.
And so when I had the opportunity to make my recall to active duty permanent, I switched to law enforcement.
Oh, okay.
And so mostly, I had one true law enforcement tour, and that was as a security officer on the George Washington, the aircraft carrier.
Okay.
Everything else I did was anti-terrorism. So I had, at one time I had all of the European Command, which is Europe and Africa, for anti-terrorism assessments, vulnerability assessments, fell under me.
Okay. So you just like kind of went around and checked things out and said, or...
Yeah, basically, yeah. I worked with the Joint Staff on their assessments, and then the component commanders on theirs. I would accompany them as kind of an honest broker between the installation and the assessment teams.
Okay.
I would do independent assessments. So that was a lot of fun. Traveled all over the place.
Yeah.
I did much the same job in the 7th Fleet. I had force protection responsibilities for all the ships and aircraft attached to the 7th Fleet, which is all of Asia, South Pacific, about 54 million square miles or something like that.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I did a lot of travel there too. Got
Yeah.
places I'd never get to otherwise. And in my last 2 tours, my last tour was force protection, and the one before that was one of the coolest things I ever did was the training officer for the Riverine Force.
Okay.
That was a lot of fun.
Tell me about that.
Well, the Riverines took over the Brownwater mission from the Marine Corps in Iraq. The Marine Corps was so tasked with doing combat missions, they needed somebody that could patrol the rivers and do that mission segment. So they stood the Navy Riverines back up. And it was kind of neat. They took all Navy SEALs and special warfare combatant craft boat drivers, and they got these guys together and said, hey, put the program together for us. So they did, and they brought all their tactics and training procedure, everything with them,
You don't think about that aspect of it, especially there, in the Middle East, like the aspect of the rivers and stuff, that would fall under technically. It could be Marines, but also the Navy too. So, that's crazy.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I was so I had 3 squadrons that I was responsible for force readiness and having making sure that they were trained up, ready to deploy.
Mm-hmm.
And the Commodore thought it was important enough that I was there for all of the capstone training, which consisted of 360-degree live fire operations at night down at Fort Knox on the rivers.
Oh, wow.
So, you run with these young bucks, full battle rattle, hopping off and on the boats, tears you up.
Yeah.
When you're an old guy like me, man, it's hard on the body.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and those cats were good.
Yeah.
Oh.
You have to be.
That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. That and the Carrier Tour was probably the best 2 tours I had.
Yeah.
And the Carrier Tour was because I was able to qualify as an officer to deck. Be the guy up there giving the orders to the helm.
That's cool. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was very cool, especially during flight ops.
Yeah, I bet.
Always a little nerve-wracking because the skipper was always leaning over your shoulder. Because ultimately it was his baby. But it was a lot of fun.
That's incredible. Well, it sounds like you got a lot out of what you put into it. So
I did.
Yeah.
I put a lot in. I got a lot out. I probably got out more than I put in, just the way the dice rolled.
Yeah.
It was a great time. But it's just the way it is with anything you do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good way to put it. Well, Ken, thank you so much for your service, man, and thank you so much for coming to lunch today. I really appreciate it.
Well, it was an honor and a privilege to be able to serve this great nation. And I feel honored for being asked to come join you for lunch. So it's completely my pleasure all the way around.